the entire legal battle frantically transported, countless spiritual energy transmitted into the great battle. The 9 giant painted buildings were officially in the world, they froze in the middle of the heaven, the welding force radiating made the entire Xianxia territory submerged in the snow. The 9 elders' faces were pale, using all 9 Bangsa buildings to consume 2/3 of their spiritual energy. Countless tribes received Xianxia at this time. Their face were also white. From the beginning to the end, Tiandao Qinan still coldly stared at the entire Xianxia territory. If there is a fairy miracle that appears here, it can definitely be from the eyes it notice, where Tiandao Qi labels staring at the small room of Xianxia. It can feel the air banned from it emitted from that place. It was just that the small air was that it did not detect anything unusual, moreover the other ray prohibited the gas now slowly dissipating. Nagwai. The incident finally broke out, a ray of terrorism triangle dragged by 3 rays combined finally collided with the 9 buildings of the painted towering in the middle of the heaven. Numerous monochromatic rays of the lifetime are not so weak, quickly bombarding 9 buildings. Quiet. Quiet to extreme. Unlike the previous times, the sound of the ears did not pass, all the peaks saw, the other triangle dragged the lifetime to collide with the 9 buildings in the same time. Both rushed to consume the opponent, without having to collide as intense as before. But the single rays of Loi keep still constantly structured, the intention of consuming the great battle. Not good, the Patriarch, the scope of our Xianxia is too big, the 9 Bang Violiet has not been able to protect them now. A legal guard stopped the newspaper. Fox. Shrinking the great scope of the battle, only protecting the necessary place in Xianxia, the areas for Rongbok or prison do not need a great battle to protect. Lak Lay coldly ordered. The legal guard immediately nodded. Obviously the Patriarch only prioritized the protection of the mainstream of Xianxia. Sacrificing the other people, Xianxia loss was not too big, just now he had forgotten, a waste of the Patriarch's blood vessels, should have been Xianxia Dai too also lived in the other area. Besides Lak Luoloi, Lak Vu graciously smirked, thinking in his heart, it seems that God also helps me, big brother, appointment of our brothers and sisters to meet again, ha ha ha. A few breaths passed. The 9 buildings of Bang Sun trembled violently, gloomy at a fast speed. At this time, the great battle was shrunk, but the 9 buildings were more and more condensed, enough to quickly fight the 3 colors. But in the places no longer being protected by the great battle were immediately destroyed by electricity, including the small room of Lak, even the chalk did not miss. But the huge ray of the 3 colors of life also gradually shrank. The monochromatic rays of life also gradually dissipated. The Xianxia people finally had people who could not stand it, their whole body was wearing. And of spiritual energy, the mouth sprayed fresh blood slowly. 1 person, 2 people, hundreds of people, began to consume all but faint. 9 elders foamed, trying to resist, the whole body sweated coldly. Time is very fast, but now every moment for Xianxia is like a nightmare. Xiaoxia. The 9 buildings of the painting quickly disintegrated, 9 elders sitting on the ground, countless people fainted. But the other rays of the 3 colors of life ended up completely dissipating in the heavens. Tiandao Qinan still stood there. Lak Lay looked at the situation of this, in the heart of the decision. He mobilized his whole body, countless lightning systems and speeding elements, the air radiates, causing the space around the body to shock like the beach. Lak Loi Din personally hindered the next lifetime. The elders who did not initially participated in the campaign also appeared beside him, the whole group of eyes flushed, frantically stared at the Tiandao Chi. It was just that there was no next lifetime as they expected. Flooded with dark clouds and Ladin-covered Xianxia suddenly dispersed in the heavens. Tiandao Chi label suddenly closed his eyes, the devil disappeared. Because, it did not continue to touch. Obviously, that air ray was completely dissipated. Looking at the carpet of Xianxia at this time, the the 9 elders seriously injured, countless ethnic groups fallen. Another countless fake powers stared at them as if watching drama, carrying the smile on the pain of others. He has 2 cool red eyes. All the mainland of the mainland heard the sound of being filled with hatred that day as if he could tear the 9 pepper. I swear, I will use all costs to find out the person who is Xianxia. You will be very tragic. I will let you feel what is one, then death is even more horrible than 10,000 times. You wait for me. Lak Loi was ashamed that the owner of a lifetime of Mr. Min, he screamed out to release the wrath. Actually the intention inside was to direct the entire Tian mainland to declare, this time Xianxia is the victim. Tian Dao stared at them because there was an arrangement. They did not do anything that made the sky and earth not tolerate, like the blood of the army. The fake might on the mainland. This time Xianxia was miserable, a 1,000-year opportunity to invade, especially some families with enemies with Xianxia are even more red eyes. It was just that they had a rational ray. This time was too unexpected. Without preparation, no one dared to attack a powerful bull, let alone Xianxia now like a crazy dog head, bite somewhere. They did not dare to be a herd. Realizing that the mainland was quiet, Lak lay cold, knowing his intentions reached. He solemnly ordered, do not ask the foreign situation. The family began to manipulate the 3 years of restoring the strength. Although he wanted to speed up the mastermind, Lak Loi recovered. The strength is still the most important, 3 years very short time compared to the prosthetic foot. Pausing a little, he directed Lak Vu to seriously open his mouth and said, Vunhi went home to cultivate, into the year must go to the Holy Spirit to study for me. He soon entered the Holy Spirit to study. Obeying the father's father, Lak Vu earlier did not hide his joy like crazy, immediately stooped to the fate. Because Lak Vu knew that the heroic life in the mainland of the mainland all graduated from the Holy Spirit, his father, the owner of Xianxia Lak Loi was no exception. North of the mainland. At an endless piece of forestry paint, the 2 shapes of great love like 2 small mountains collided. 2 cool red eyes seemed to want to bring the opponent completely tearing. Hundreds of miles of the surrounding pulse, now countless trees fall, some small beasts are weak, then break the flesh bones, the other falls to flee, the other part lying on the soil shaked on the shaking soil. This tragedy was obviously caused by 2 terrorist fire-loving terrorists who were fighting, sharp claws constantly unintentionally straight into the opponent, not saved. But while they still recklessly rushed to fight, a long-speed teenage body suddenly appeared on the shoulder of one of them, as if they had just passed through the endless space. Keng, success escaped from Xianxia, complete the mission of the dragon to the Big Sea, reward once appointed summoning geographic items. The sound system sounds in the airs. After using Tuna Difu, Lak then was immediately transmitted from Xianxia. He once had an illusion that relying on his temperament said that he could not be lucky to transmit into some of the dynamic. Inside there was Cao Nan Truyen, countless spiritual knitting. It's just your mother, what pot? Meeting the situation before Lak-then's eyes scolded loudly, he dreamed of not thinking about the first time the first transmission had directly entered the battlefield between 2 terrible love. Lak-then was agile from the shoulder to jump to the ground, and at the same time radiate a layer of soul to protect the body, with his current intensity of the soul power capable of quickly fighting the 3 battle by the 2 beasts. If the ordinary monk witnessed his actions will widen his eyes, because the soul of the monk is the most vulnerable locality, but this guy dares to use the soul to make a room. It is the difference between a spiritual spirit and a spiritual spirit. Lak-then, although not a true spiritual spirit, some basic ways to control the soul of protection or attack can still be done. Fortunately, in the eyes of the other 2 lovers at this time Lak-then absolutely not worthy of, they continued to risk the attacking of the opponent despite the presence of Lak-then at this time. Based on the use of Tifu, Lak-then realized that this was obviously 2 black bears. Kim Nhi still floated next to Lak-then in every situation, except for Lak-then, no one could see her. Do not say 2 black bears, even if the heavenly religion, Kim Nhi like an existence completely separate from the world. She observed the situation, opened her lips and said, "It's the Black Sun Hung, the atmosphere they play. It belongs to the three states of love, equivalent. I see this is clearly a couple, not knowing for what the cause directly lives with each other. Lack then radiates the soul, just cope with the excess of three because the two big children fight, just open their mouths." He discovered that his level of control of his soul was a bit more proficient. This was clearly an opportunity to train. They could be a couple, but that was before, at least before that thing hadn't appeared, Kim Nhi said calmly, her small fingers pointed to one direction. Lack then followed her finger to look back, only to see far away with a small spiritual medicine that was slightly close. The small tree trunk was only with a toothpick, but on the top, a large brown flower filled the spirit. What kind of spirit? Lack then said that it was obvious that the bear divorced and struggled to rob each other, enough to see that the other spiritual medicine was extremely used. Temporarily, is a root of the middle class Huian of the Earth system. Kim Nhi calmly, she continued. Its name is Earth Spirit, which can provide an amount of spiritual system for. Lack then awakens to enlightenment. Hac Sun Hung is a kind of beast of Earth's attribute, in front of an example or of a root of the spirit system. Crazy is understandable. Lack then thought of the way of cultivation inside Immortal was born in the first floor, immediately moved. Kim Nhi also knew the spirit of mind, nor did he stop him. Lack then observed that the two bears were still melon. He tried to radiate the harmlessness of not being slow to go to the root of the spirit. The two Hac Sun Hung hero completely did not pay attention. In their eyes the Lack god was a slightly large ant, one hand could squeeze death, completely incapable of fighting spirit. If the other is in exchange for others, it is true that, even if it is a great high-ranking god, he applied the soul of protecting the body, while sneaking slowly. Lack then discovered more and more approaching the spirit. The intensity of the three attacks of the two big body was increasingly weak. Obviously they did not want to harm the spirit, so this place was quite far away to fight. But when Lack then was only a few steps away from Lin Duok, because he was always in a state of movement near the spirit, so the bear and his wife also discovered that the small mouse Lack then had the intention to rob their rice. Roar! Roar! Two indignant roar rang out, causing countless low-level love to fell on the ground. Lack then was not pleasant. Anyway, his body intensity was too low. Even though the soul of the body still could not stand the air, the beast of the beasts made up. He tried to suppress the pain, swallow the blood of the blood to spray in and out of his throat, frantically running like flying back to the root of the spirit of the spirit. The two blacks were angry with all eyes. No matter how they were in a hurry, the three beasts had a certain wisdom. They thought that Lack then was small and weak, even if he picked Earth Lin Thao. Still can TT from them. The current Lack then is near the Earth Lin Thao. If they are full of attack, they can kill said Lack then, but at the same time will damage herbs. So the bear now began to stop the battle. They started to go to Lack then to run, the sound of roar and the air emanating continuously to the direction of Lack then, the intention to force him to die without attacking to harm the spirit. Lack then directly received the oppressive atmosphere of the two triangle lovers. The face was extremely pale, the soul protection around the body also began to tremble, now only 2 steps away from the Lin Thao. Roar! Lack then this time could not stand a mouthful of fresh blood. Biting his teeth and his body to the direction of the spirit, his right hand rushed it up, and his left hand crushed another piece of Na Difu. The thief miraculously turns eye. Bear and husband and wife on the one hand are dreaming. 2 cool eyes detected continuously. Roar! They continued to cruelly rushed into each other, this time as if they wanted to join the opponent. They were all in their hearts. The teenage body appears again. This time did not know. The young man muttered not all the sentence. A sound of moaning people suddenly resounded in his hand, making his face tighten. The sound of the Lack then woman took a deep breath, started to search the surrounding situation. Suddenly the face must have a few parts of the monster, a few parts of the secret, some parts of the expression appeared on the face in a note. This place is a closed space of a few dozen square meters, but it is extremely bright because on this wall of the ventricular surface of 5 sparkling de min chao. Regardless of what made Lac then confused, not because of the valuable de min chao, but because this mysterious secret was a woman. A respectful injury lying in the dying woman. Lac then swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He swore to the sky, this is the first time he witnessed such a beautiful girl, beautiful to make people suffocate. Under the light of Min Chao. The beauty of the body is thin, white skin is soft like freezing, long slender body, full breasts round and rippling fluttering with each breath, long blue hair, noble neck like swan, pearl blue collarbone. Flower great. It was the beauty of Lac then for her, just that at this time, the great woman of the great flower seemed to be seriously injured. She was helpless on the ground, her eyes were half closed, her long eyelashes trembled, her small lips fell in love with her pale moaning because of pain, her forehead was sweating. As a familiar act, Lac then squatted down and used a graceful sleeve to wipe away the sweat on her forehead. This woman he is a serious trick during the retreat. This is a phenomenon when the mind is not enough but anxious to pursue a higher realm. Her soul is now quite serious. Kim Nhi was unjustly knowledge, immediately concluded. Can my Ned be saved her? Lac then just asked, 2 hands helped human leaning back on his heart, he felt that leaving her lying on the ground for another second is also a crime. Whether the system provides, the system only restores spiritual energy, treats the body, for the soul damage like her is invalid, Kim Nhi explained. Lac then sensed his body in a slightly trembling heart. He used a bit of strength to hug a little more, using the heat of her body to warm her right hand around her soft small waist, feeling her soft skin, her nose inhaled the light fragrance from the beauty of the beauty, the indescribable satisfaction in words. Female in her chest seemed to feel something, the willow leaf eyebrow was inherently frowning because of the pain that was slightly stretched out a bit. Just a small mouth constantly moaning proves that she is still extremely painful. This situation is the mind that does not keep up with the monk but stubbornly breaking the emperor, because not everyone is the spirit of cultivating the powerful soul as the owner, so when the soul receives the hurt will be extremely serious. If not saved in time, it will lead to Lac. Kim Nhi seriously provides knowledge for Lac then. I want to know how to save her. Lac then urged him. His hand constantly wiped out sweat on her forehead. He did not know why he was so worried about her. First meeting was attracted to her beauty for the first time, being protected by her slender figure without the reason. He even thanked Tuna Difu to transmit him here to discover her. Perhaps the love of lightning strikes in the legend, Lac then thought. Based on the layout of the secretary he knew her identity was definitely not mindful, no matter was a hegemony in the future. Lac then wanted her to be his, who dared to stop only a word kill. To treat this case there are 2 ways. The first way is needed to have the great genius of the geography that can increase the soul for her to use, Kim Nhi said. Lac then nodded peacefully. He completed only the task of escaping from Lac Gia, and once he appointed summoning unused geographical items, he could summon the heavenly level of heaven and earth to complement the soul for her. No matter what he wants to hear the second way. The second way is the Prince Song to and her, Kim Nhi said. Stuff. Lac then a little less spit out, looked at his pale face in his chest, swallowed his saliva and asked, why this is this way? Prince of the intensity of the soul overcoming ordinary people, there is an immortal sutta of auxiliary sutta, the soul of the sun is the most premium soul legions of heaven, Kim Nhi explained. If you want to use your soul to save her, you too have to be natural. Keng, successful success plan, complete the task. Lac then immediately dreamed, hidden what the mission was, hurriedly opened up the mission of notes. The host took the small monk's navigation of the power plan, borrowed thanks to the heavenly religion that made Lac Gia a heavy loss, the mind that a hegemony should have, so complete the mission. Lac then understands, And also happy, he huffed coldly, just starting to start, sooner or later also reclaim capital and interest. Ken, launch the task branch, complete the random reward committee of the summon, the ghostly, failure, ungainly and beautiful women in 10 years. The mission notes, a hegemony needs to have power to become a great deal. The elderly have a sentence behind a successful man who always has a shadow of women. The owner needs to use the practice of treating Yensuang Nhi, then seeking to conquer her heart. She is suitable for becoming a gentle path for the hegemony of the owner. Her name is Yensuang Nhi. Lakdan Dynasty looked at her body more and more, trembling in her heart, muttering her name. He knows, it's time to make a decision. Her hands hugged her soft body in her heart. Lakdan supported her to turn around with him. Her eyes were still half closed, her willow leaves were slightly trembling, her nose was small. The high message with her lips was slightly pale, but there was still a ruddy ray that was revealing her white teeth like her corn, like a immature but seductive flower. It was a moan in the pain of her two faces now facing each other, breathing like her fragrant uplanite made Lakdan drunk. May probably did not want to continue to witness her pain, nor did she want to endure the desire to possess her, ignoring the consequences. Lakdan stroked her slightly tangled hair. Thea placed a kiss on her smooth forehead despite the sweat and still covered. Feeling the salty taste along with the fragrance in the sweat, Lakdan reached out and licked the small ears of her ivory ear. Hu, Suang Nhi, Yen Suang Nhi, her god calls Lakda, and the body of the beauty trembles based on the previous life experience with his girlfriend. Lakdan does not continue to wait, put a kiss on the pale lips that is radiating the fragrance of delusion. The other, starting to sip easily. Her lips were cool and dry because of weakness but extremely soft. He reached out his tongue, licking around her lips, sucking on the lovely lips. Refusing to stop there, Lakdan reached out to the tip of his tongue, slightly separated his weak lips, his slippery tongue into exploring and exploring, starfruit through white teeth like Chao Ngoc, mildly enjoying the god of the goddess in his chest. Finally his tongue also penetrated deep, aggressively rolling the sweet tongue of the beauty of the beauty. Lakdan sucked his tongue, one hand hugging the slim waist, one hand stroking his cheeks full of mourning. Yensuang Nhi was still in a coma, despite the stranger wrapped in a small tongue, greedy to rob Huangtan Ngoc translated in her mouth. Her skin gradually blushed. Kissing for a long time, Lakdan left his lips to leave the silver white silk connecting his mouth. He grabbed her hand on his face, feeling her hand cold, he bowed his head to suck, the warm tongue sucking each finger of her, licking as if enjoying the most valuable object. The beauty huffed softly in the cage. Feeling that her hands were less cold, Lakdan approached her face in her face, using her tip of the nose to rub her nose, smelling the fragrance of your lips spread by her lips. He could not help but bow his head to invade. The two tongue continued to blend together, the sound of the sound resounded continuously. At this time, Lakdan's hand went to the full peach mound. He had just buttoned the woman's tongue, and rubbed her softly. The beauty constantly groaned, not knowing because of pain or refreshment. Lost. God left her lips again, before separating, not forgetting her tongue button. Lakdan knew that she needed to get invasion quickly. He placed her gently lying on the ground, because she was indifferent to the discreet place. Her body was naked, only a thin layer of temporary silk on her body, and Lakdan also quickly removed it. The thin silk separated, a masterpiece of the creator appeared, causing the breath of Lakdan to intense. Skin like snow, smooth, shrinking. Thought. The pair of round peach bloating, full white firm, toned, above the point, take 2 pink pearls. The small waist is flexible like a water snake, a small navel hole. 2 long slender thighs closed, just revealing a small blue forest in mounds. Lakdan looked passionately, could not resist attractive, he faced his face into her breasts calmly caressing. Childing. Lakdan took the nipple of Yensuang Nhi's faltering, occasionally biting the pink nipple, the right hand kneading the rest of the breast into full shape, causing the beauty to start trembling intensely. Her breasts were so fragrant, smooth, her nipples were as sweet as honey. Not stopping there, her left hand began to find a mysterious place between her legs. Gently separating her thighs closed, Lak then left her breast, watching her mysterious peach. It was wonderful, I was fortunate to have her. Lak then was whispered. In front of Lak then are two beautiful and white groin slots, the year between them is the locality that can make the entire god of the world crazy. Only see the vagina, white, pink and beautiful, a small blue grass is neatly located above the cup, the two edges. Charming, cute beads invited, a little below is another mysterious hole that is both pink and brown with wrinkles regularly. Lak then was completely irresistible, the tip of the tongue reached out to explore those two mysterious cups. The sound of love again rang again. It seems this time because of happiness. Because Lak then felt that the other cup was gradually wet, the mysterious water appeared as if there was no stop, his mouth was wet. Lak then mischievously reached out, continuing the button to take a sweet tongue, adjacent to her ears, whispering, "My mist, do you work with water?" Of course, this woman owns two types of spirituality, earth and water attribute. A immature sound made Lak then startled. He turned to Kim Nhi, still observing the whole process of sadness, and said, "The first house is small, should not watch, go away to play." Kim Nhi pouted small lips, immediately crawled in. Lak then disappeared. Lak then regained her spirit, continued to whisper into her ear, "Now I started her treatment for her, and also disappeared at the same time. She becomes my own woman, remembering her godly god is Lak then." I, looking at that arrogant Nay, raised my head high, he smiled satisfied. In his memory, Lak then remembered when he was a child who was asked by the young children in Lakgya to cut off your, at that time he was naive for not understanding why, now he knew they were jealous of him. Little brother is longer than 20 centimeters, the huge width is extremely covered with veins. It seems that this is the most valuable thing you left me. Lak then smirked. He did not wire again, kissed the lips of the snow again, one more. Separating her legs to the sides, Lak then separates the two edges of red meat, aiming at the graceful cup, rubbing her head slightly on her vagina to lubricate, gradually starting to enter. Too tight, you the beauty moaned in the delusion, not knowing for what cause, two tears appeared on her inherently closed eyes. Lak witnessed, slightly throbbing, bowed, and licked the corner of her eyes. He Gemini said, "Who allows her to cry? My mist is only happy. Happiness, you know." After saying that, he suddenly pushed. The body under the body was stable, he continued to slowly advance. The retreat of Nguyen on Ky was not enough, she was subjective thinking that based on her natural richness to overcome the door of the mind. Scene. But, the mistake of paying the price is expensive, the consequences were tragedy. When Tien was overly defeated, her soul was seriously injured, before coma, she knew that this time was only afraid to escape from death, she was not a spiritual soul, healing the soul was impossible, where the retreat was very mysterious, no one could save her. Yen Suang Nhi was really desperate, she closed her senses waiting for death. Suang Nhi? Suang Nhi? Did you hear me? Suang Nhi? A sound filled with anxiety, Dio suddenly impacted her sleeping soul. Virtual price? The sound of a god, filled with interest, Yen Suang Nhi. She was pure, cold, and year-round training, retreat, and the god she met through the number of hands, Q, the system also stops. At the commune level again, why was there a god who worried about her? Suang Nhi? I am Lak then, is her god, heard it clearly. The other sound continued to pass, making Yen Suang Nhi angry. Extremely, dare to claim to his own god, it is hateful. It seems that this trick is too serious, even the mind appears, this god is my mind? Suang Nhi, I want to treat you, relax my spirit so that I can integrate her soul who is afraid of anyone, after all, he is about to die, to see what you want to do. She stubbornly thought, began to let go of resistance, letting the soul enter her body. Lack then efforts, finally touch the female soul. In his heart completely relaxed, at this time, he struggled to convey his soul through the place of secret to her body. A long time later, the white face of Lakthan was pale, too much of the sensor of her spiritual energy completely invaded the soul of being fascinated by Yensuang Nhi. He smirked and smiled, reciting the decision. Immortal of Sin, practicing soul inside the Lakthan soul, countless ancient literature began to glow. The force of energetic energy is rich in complementary and trained. But the soul of Yensuang Nhi also began to be added and treated. Yensuang Nhi only feels the whole soul is as comfortable as pleasant. Going to the blue clouds, the soul of her hurt, taking the speed quickly, countless pain gradually disappeared. This is the illusion? Don't think this time. Even the illusion appears. Not knowing how long, the feeling of complete spirituality, Yensuang Nhi opened beautiful eyes. Hitting her eyes was a scene that made her immediately blushing, only seeing a pretty teenager, the age seemed smaller than her, he closed his eyes tightly, his hands were thin but strong and hugging her body. Suddenly, as if it felt something wrong. Yensuang Nhi felt anything that was both long and hard and hot, filled with her. This fantasy this time is scary, even such a chaotic scene. All appeared. She, nothing to be ashamed. Lakthan eyelid closed and did not want her to know his eyes completely. Empty, too much based on the thorough Tifu, he completely realized her lovely appearance. I am your ghost mind, scared. Lakthan smiled and asked. Huh, I am not afraid? I'm afraid your mind. Yensuang Nhi puffed her eyes, her lips regained her beautiful blood. So okay, we continue to be done. Lakthan laughed, suddenly under the penis pushed. Yensuang Nhi trembled, her helpless body lying still to endure, the soul injury was treated but her body's spiritual energy. It all made her unable to do anything. Suang Nhi, I'm happy, her tightness Lakthan said, the penis constantly enters her body. I'm also happy, do not think this is so wonderful. Yensuang Nhi's eyes were half closed, thinking before he knew this feeling was not bad. Lakthan witnessed the demonstration of her people, bowed his head to kiss, his tongue wanted to continue her tongue. She flows down from his lips and then flows down his neck, the breath of the two people constantly hit each other, the hearts of the same beat. Hurrying out like that? You are my ghost mind, maybe my story you don't know. Yensuang Nhi rested in the plan, too much still answered, I need to quickly break through to compete for the status of the holy woman, otherwise it may be a marriage tool for the subject. Dare to see my woman as a marriage tool, want to die Lakthan said, below and out. Yensuang Nhi freely groaned, lewd, so arrogant even though in her heart was extremely sweet. It is not bad, she thought sweetly. Yeah, a little strong, strabismus Yensuang Nhi while whining and whispering, she wanted to see what this god Ma could do. Use martial arts. As a spirit of spirit Yensuang Nhi was happy, too quickly and gloomy, I have earth and water system, only the spirit of spirit is still not enough. This is the difference between the person who has a loneliness and many spirits, people with many spiritual bases, although the strength is very strong compared to the Lin base but the cultivation resources also need many times. Her god said it would be able to do it. Lakthan angrily interrupted the nipple to make her frightened, below to receive his continuous coincidence, soil like Lan. System, conducting the appointment of summoning the geographical system of the geodermic knitting system. Lakthan ordered the system, fulfilling the mission to escape from Lakgia, he still has not used the reward. Keng, began to summon the geography of the knitting system. Congratulations to the host to receive Huian Tui Dan, the extreme geography. Duok Pharmacy, speed up the absorption of water. The spiritual system is 30 times more than 10 hours. Not bad at all. Lack spirit of the Xianxia Nhi's vagina, bent down to kiss her forehead to try kiss me once, have gifts for you. Many stories. Xianxia Nhi puffed her cheeks, too much still grabbed and hit his lips. Lack then was satisfied with the smile. The other Huan Tui Dan immediately appeared, which the water system inside the heaven took the rapid speed flooding it towards it like welcoming the fake. Huan Tui Dan? How could it be? Xianxia Nhi rolled her beautiful eyes. This thing in her sect only appeared in the ancient. How? Practicing has been lost for a long time. How? Lack then asked, under the strong end. You, happy. It is true that the mind, nothing cannot do. Xianxia Nhi moaned lovely. All right, we both practice and cultivate them. How? Lack then pampered to look at her. Now they have just had sex, proceeded. Practicing items means mutually beneficial. Lack then also wanted to promote his spiritual energy. I am so happy. He slowed down to focus on the training. Xianxia Nhi changed his way. She decided to enjoy the whole. The illusion of this time and then dying is not bad. Chi Lack then smiled. Below stopped clicking, sucking Huan Tui Dan in his mouth, then bowed his head to find her lips. He dropped the medicine. Her mouth, not forgetting her tongue button. But he also picked down the brown flower on the spirit of the spirit, put in his mouth, in his heart, he thought, immortal of the sin, capacitors. Lack then supported Xianxia Nhi, letting her sit on his lap, below both of them tightly combined. In that moment, countless water and earthen systems of the spiritual spirit entered the secret room, intensity of bold folding out of the world countless times, covering the two naked images in combination.